This is Enya's Relatable Randomness podcast series, Walk in These Shoes. Welcome to Enya's Relatable Randomness podcast. My name is Enya, your host, and here with me I have one of my dearest friends, June. I've known her since I can remember. She's one of my role models. I look up to her very much. And she has her master's in kids psychology. She's a registered clinical counselor, and she impacts many lives. So you told me about agoraphobia.
Yeah.
And you had agoraphobia. Can you tell me a little bit what that is?
Okay, well, first I can say thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thanks
thank
so
you.
much for that. Agoraphobia, for people that don't know what agoraphobia is, it's an overwhelming, drop to your knees kind of fear where you are not capable of managing in the world, and you feel like you're going to die. And so I am a recovered person with agoraphobia. So my agoraphobia came out of the blue, which is very common for most people. And agoraphobia doesn't pick a certain target of people or an age or a profession or anything like that. It could be someone that is a stay-home mom up to a doctor. And the same kind of reaction occurs when it happens, and that is that you don't know what's going on and why is this happening. So personally for me, when I had my son, that was in 1985, I was home for about 6 weeks after he was born, and I decided that I was going to go into town, because we lived in the country. I was going to go into town and go grocery shopping with my newborn son. And so I put him into his car seat and into the truck, and away I went. And I got about 5 or 10 minutes in towards town, and I was stopped at a red light, and I was overcome with overwhelming fear. My heart started pounding out of my chest. I was sweating. I felt like I needed to go to the washroom. I was all of a sudden paralyzed with fear.
What do you think brought that on?
That's the thing about agoraphobia, is there's no real clear answer to what that is. It's unreasonable. There's nothing that can be said that can make sense of that, of why that's occurring. And when it occurs, it's terrifying, it's life-changing. And for me, personally, I managed to get myself and my son home, and then I never left the house for another year.
Wow.
So from there, my world became extremely small, and I would experience 20 plus anxiety attacks a day. I would walk around with a paper bag, and I would just keep calming myself. And my partner, my son's father, was an absolutely amazing support system for me. And he cared for me deeply, and he looked after me, but almost to a fault where he didn't push me a bit to go see a doctor or to seek some kind of professional help. He would just support me. He would support me, and I wouldn't allow him to be away from me. I couldn't let him out of the house. I'd be so afraid to be alone or alone with my son. So he was a contract worker, and he had to stop his whole professional career and stay home. And his partner of his company, of him and his partner, he would then begin to bring us groceries because I couldn't let him leave long enough to buy groceries. And we became isolated. And that happened in May of '85. And when the heat of the summer came, I began to get very afraid of inside the house. It was too hot. So then our lives, our daily routine started getting up very early before the sun, and packing up the baby and everything we needed for the day, And then we would go into the backyard, and it was a forest with shade, and I would hide there all day till the sun was gone.
Wow.
And my partner would tolerate that, and he would do that. So that's what it looked like. It just, the world was so small. I was afraid to walk to the mailbox that was just maybe not even a minute away. I couldn't handle that. I couldn't handle anything. I couldn't handle people. I couldn't handle talking on the phone.
When you had mentioned that you weren't able to be alone with your son, what does that mean? Like, what did that feel like?
Well, it just meant, like, I was so afraid I'd have a huge panic attack, and I wouldn't be able to help him. What if I was nursing him and all of a sudden, you know, I start panicking, and that, you know, of course I would endure the panic attack and look after him, but it was much more ideal to have my partner around all the time, so that when I was busy having anxiety attacks, that he would be able to look after our son, and I would be able to breathe it out, go lay down, breathe. So that was what life looked like. That was what our life was like, and it was very, very small and very scary and very fragile.
Was there anything that you did for yourself when you were experiencing this within your home to try to feel better, to try to get better?
No, at that time, unlike today, today I have, you know, oodles and oodles of tools in my toolbox of how I would handle anxiety now. But back then I had no tools. So I didn't know about deep breathing. I didn't know about deep muscle relaxation. And I did not know you had to breathe below your belly button. And I did not know that I was only breathing to here, and that it was just feeding that anxiety over and over again. I didn't know any of those things. So I was quite a victim to the attacks, and I would just ride them, and I'd survive them. And I'd hope that they wouldn't come back. And so I know the day when it changed. I know the day when it changed. I could not any longer tolerate living my life so restricted. I could not. And it was to the point, I remember I was standing at the door to our house, and I looked in the house and I looked out of the house, and both terrified me.
Oh man. And what did you do?
Well, it was just so, it was one of those profound life-changing moments, because I gave in to dying. I said, please let me die.
Wow.
Because I could no longer live that way. And I stood there and I prayed. And I was okay with dying. I wanted to live, but I had to live free of the anxiety, or I had to die. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't be so limited, so afraid. And there was no joy in my life. And that was the day I said, it's done. It's done. I will move forward, and I will get beyond this. And I left my son's father, because we were not together. We were just co-raising my son together. And he stayed all that time, and I knew that I had to leave him. I had to stand up on my own. I had to prove I could do it. So I moved out with my son. I saw a doctor. I got on medication. and I moved into a little 2-bedroom mobile home with my son. And my sister, because of course my family was very well aware of my condition, bought me a Nova car for $100. And under the stipulation that I had to drive it every day. I had to drive up to Super Value every day, which was about a 5-minute drive. I didn't have to go in the store and buy anything. I just had to commit to driving there every day, getting myself out of the house.
What kind of thoughts would you be thinking about during that drive? Was it like a consistent battle that like I have to do this, or did it come with ease?
No, it was like having to be totally brave. I had to put on a coat of bravery and go, okay, this is it. You know, you want to live, you got to do this. And it's like you've got to feel the fear and do it anyway. And it never felt good. It never was easy. And my mother gave me a backpack that belonged to my nephew when he was a baby. And I had to walk my son into the forest nearby every day. So I had to go out in the world twice a day. I had to go out in the world and try to get some strength around being out in the world. So I did that, and the medication helped. And from there I went to putting my son in daycare because I know that he was not socialized from my isolated life. So I won the lottery with a daycare lady. Her name was Patience, and she was an English.
Her name was Patience.
Yeah, and she was an English lady, and she absolutely adored my son. And she knew full well, because I'd shared with her what I was trying to attempt to do. So she gave that to my son. She gave that part of getting involved with other children and potty training him and all that stuff. I was potty training him, but he went to the bathroom for the first time by himself with her, not me. I'll always remember that. But
and you're okay with that?
I'm okay with that because it's just the way it is. And but yes, so that was my. I think that was my biggest struggle. And then, of course, there came a time when the medication had to go. I felt like it had to go. I had put myself into college, and I was taking law and social work. And I was a straight A student. I was doing really well. But I was medicated, and I didn't like that. So I got this other kind of moment where I went, okay, the next step is to go unmedicated. And I went into the doctor's office and I announced that I'm going off my medication. I threw my pills into his garbage can.
How long ago was that?
This was like, I guess maybe a year after I started the medication.
Okay.
Yeah, and I threw it in his garbage, and I went home, and I felt very empowered. And my body the next couple of days was just so high. I felt fantastic. My head was so clear, and it was like, and then the third day came or something. I woke up sweating and shaking. And I was like just curled up in a ball, and it was like I was in bad shape. My friend took me back to the doctor, and he said, June, you should never go off. It was Valium, and he said, it's worse than being a heroin addict. He said, we got to do this slow, real slow. Yeah. So we then proceeded to do real slow, and we tapered me off. It took months, maybe even a year or something, to get off of that medication. But yeah, that's kind of that story in a shell, kind of short and sweet.
So, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when you were standing at the door and you either had to live without the anxiety or you wanted to die, when you were standing there, it was your mental strength that got you through that, and then afterwards you made those steps to go to the doctor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just that, it was, you know, probably that moment of truth, of, you know, being connected to my authentic self. In that moment of desperation, I probably connected with my authentic self and my wisdom, and you know, my true self is someone that will not give in, you know. So yeah, I think that day I found my strength again. I found, but it needed to be at that point of I was absolutely willing to give up my life. Not through suicide or anything. I just wanted to die. You know, I had no ideas of me doing that. It was just I wished to be dead or to be free of anxiety and agoraphobia. Right?
Yeah. If what piece of advice would you give to anybody who's experiencing agoraphobia right now, who's watching this?
I would say you are going to get through it. And you are not going to die. You are absolutely not going to die. There is no cases anywhere that anyone has died from agoraphobia or an anxiety attack. It just feels like you're going to. And no, you're not crazy. You are absolutely not crazy, even though it will make you feel crazy. And I want anyone out there that is suffering from that to believe, with the right help and support, you can make yourself live a full life again, free of anxiety. I learned the tools along the way. That was part of my journey. The deep breathing, the muscle relaxation, all of those kind of things that empower us, because we hold the wisdom inside of ourselves. We hold the medicine inside of ourselves to conquer anything like this. And so I want those people out there to know that there is this untapped resource inside of you that is the answer to getting out of the agoraphobic world that they're living in. And to believe that, and that I am living proof that I am a capable, strong woman in private practice and living a full life. And coming to this point in my life, the gift it's given me is I have gratitude that I will never forget. I absolutely will never forget the things that were taken from me and how I could do nothing. I have the gratitude to stand in a bank lineup now and not be annoyed, because I am so lucky to be standing in that bank lineup. So lucky. I travel around in the world to places. I'm so grateful I can do that. I could never have done that before. It would have brought on an anxiety attack thinking of doing that, not even doing it. Just thinking of it would have brought on a horrific. And now I can get on a plane and fly to Mexico. I will never forget, as long as I live, I will never forget how grateful I am and how fortunate I am that I can do the most unimportant task to the most important task now. And it will never, I will never take it for granted again. I do not take these things for granted again. When you've had that taken away from you and you've lived that life of fear and low self-esteem, no confidence, do not believe in yourself even this much, to get to a point where you are living a full life, enjoying your children, enjoying your grandchildren, I will have a gratitude that I will never lose, and I will have memories. I remember the first time I took that Nova and I didn't tell my mother. I drove all the way down to her house, which was a 2-hour drive.
Wow.
My son was with his father, and I drove to my mother's house, and everyone knew full well that I wasn't capable of doing anything. And I just woke up one morning and said, it's time. You can do it. You can do it. You get in that car and you drive yourself down there 2 hours. And I just kept going, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I'm doing it. You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. I just kept telling myself there'd be those waves. I go, you can do it. You can do it. And then I'd get a little more excited as I got closer to my mom's. And then that would bring on a bit of anxiety. It's like, you can do it, you can do it. And I drove in, and I remember I pulled up, and Mom was out there outside doing something, and she couldn't believe her eyes.
Aww.
And she just broke down crying. She said, Judy, you did it.
Yeah.
You did it. And we were like dancing and hugging and crying, and she was so proud of me. Like she was so happy, and she knew what a huge accomplishment that was. You know, like it couldn't have been a better person to do it with. So, you know, I'll cherish that because I just lost my mom. So I'll cherish that forever. How much she believed in me, and I spent the weekend with her, and she took care of me. And Sunday came, and there was that kind of, we both felt it, you know, she knew I was building up tension because I had to go home now, and I didn't think I could, and I might be stuck there and trapped there. And she knew just what to do. She said, come on, Judy, let's go for a hike. And we hiked way out for hours. She wore me right out. And then we got back, and I went, okay, I'm ready, Mom.
Yeah.
And I got in the car, and I had a stack of apples beside me that I picked from the beach, and I made those apples last for 2 hours, one bite at a time, and I brought myself home.
That's amazing. That's amazing. With the education that you have now, as somebody out there experiencing agoraphobia, is there any breathing technique or muscle relaxing thing that you had mentioned earlier that they could practice?
Absolutely. You know, one of the simplest things that you can do is the deep breathing. And so it's about learning the breathing techniques, because when you begin to panic, of course, you hyperventilate, and you only breathe to here. And it's very necessary to breathe to below your belly button. So if you put your hand on your belly button, and then and take a nice slow breath, and you need to feel your stomach come out under your belly button. So just take a nice slow breath in and release slowly. And did you feel your belly rise?
Yeah.
So it's really important to get your breath down to that point. So now if you were to visualize a balloon in your belly, now I'd like you just to take a slow breath and fill that balloon up. And then slowly deflate it. And you feel that calmness kind of set in? Very. So then if you want to add to that, as you breathe in and fill up that balloon, expand it out, I want you to breathe in relaxation. And as you breathe out all the tension. Anything your body may not need. And once again, on your own, and breathe out through your mouth. How was that?
Very relaxing. Very relaxing.
And that simple tool is so powerful.
Yeah.
That I tell you from experience, you start with that simple tool, you will get to the point where you can command your body to relax, is where I got to. When I felt the anxiety attack coming on, I could command my body to relax, and then it immediately went into relax mode. We are all capable of this. So there is your simple tool, and one of the most powerful ones.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. Thank you. So there's a couple questions that I ask my guests at the end of each episode.
Yes.
And the first one being, what are you most proud of?
What am I most proud of? Well, I'm very proud of getting out of that, but what I'm most proud of is my children. They are my absolute pride and joy, and I am, of course, so grateful to spend time with them and to be present with them, and to have front row seat to their lives and to cheerlead them, and I'm so absolutely proud of them. They're everything in my life. And my grandchildren, of course, are that's icing on the cake.
Awesome. And out of everything that you've been through in your life, what is the biggest lesson that you will carry on forever?
My biggest lesson and my biggest message that I give the world is that love will always win. Love will always win. So I serve my life that way. I serve my life with love will always win.
Mm-hmm.
Because the world needs that. The
Yeah.
world needs that, and it costs you absolutely nothing to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important to remember that. If you have a chance to smile at someone that you may perceive they see themselves as invisible, because many people are invisible, take the time to smile at them. Take the time to make eye contact, you know. Not only are you filling their soul up, but you're filling your own. This is a full circle thing. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I guess that's what my message, my most important message to the world is that love is the answer,
Yeah.
and love always wins,
Yeah.
right? All the darkness in the world can't put the light out of one candle.
Mm-hmm.
Be the light always.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And what do you think about when you wake up and when you go to sleep?
When I wake up, I have gratitude. I'm fortunate enough to hear the eagles as I wake up. They're singing outside. And I will lay there with my eyes closed, and I will have gratitude for life, for the beauty,
Mm-hmm.
and how blessed I am.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So, a little surprise here. This is actually my mother. And I am one of the kids that she is talking about. And this is our first time being on a podcast together. And I'm just so excited and so blessed to have you here, Mom, and to be talking about this. And this is also the first time that I've actually heard the story about agoraphobia. So it was really great to do it in this setting. Yeah.
Thank you. I love you so much, baby.
I love you too, Mommy. And as always, keep smiling. Oh, my foot. Oh,
How was that?
That was so Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. That was awesome.